bumper music can only mean one thing. We're going to talk about music, and this is Paul Ryan coming at you. I believe this is show 14 in our series, and we'll keep going. Last week we began talking, we switched gears from the actual song writing and song enhancements, and we looked into the top sellers of all time in the USA in terms of units sold. And we talked about people like Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Led Zeppelin, Springsteen, and a few others. Here we're going to talk today about one of the top few, Elvis Presley. The Hillbilly Cat, Elvis the Pelvis, the Memphis Flash. Elvis Presley had no shortage of nicknames, but the most memorable, and I guess the one that stuck, was simply the King. His music had elements of Christian gospel, Southern country, black music, and the blues. So the music might be described as a form of fusion. He had sex appeal, one of the first artists who wiggled on stage, and he dressed up for his performances. There was no shirt and tie. Although his exact debut is unknown, the King made one of his earliest appearances on April the 19th, 1956, when reporter Bill Ramirez interviewed him. A month later, a story in the Memphis Press referred to him as the King of Rock and Roll. And in the studio, Elvis learned from and copied a microphone technique developed by Bing Crosby. In his day, big ribbon mics were used at Studio B and other big studios. These mics have a huge proximity effect. That is, when you move very close in, the mic gives you this deep, full sound. Elvis used how to use the mic in some of his songs. And I'm speaking into that very mic right now, the one that Elvis used, and Bing Crosby used it, Sinatra for a while, until some of the other kinds of mics came along. What I'm speaking into right now is an RCA 44BX. It's from that era in 1948, and it was a favorite mic of Elvis, and it was used in Studio B. And I talked about proximity effect, and here's what I'm talking about. When you move, talking, the mic's a little bit far away, but when I move up really close to the ribbon mic, here's what it sounds like. And Elvis and some of the other singers of the day mastered that technique. After his very first opening in Las Vegas, 1969, an entertainment reporter referred to him as the King during a press conference, and Elvis deferred. Quote, "No, that's the real King of Rock and Roll," end quote, Fats Domino. Despite his objections, Presley remained the King. His music reached an unprecedented level of popularity in those days, with 149 of his songs appearing on Billboard's Hot 100 pop chart, and 18 of them reaching number one. Wherever Elvis went, the size of the crowds were massive. His appearances on television were among the most widely viewed of their time, and his concerts broke audience size records at venues across North America. He never performed outside the continent, though, but Elvis scored those 18 top 10 hits on the UK singles chart in the late 50s. Why was Elvis Presley a success? I've mentioned a few reasons, but his music was revolutionary at the time. That fusion of blues, black, gospel, country, and other forms became known as rock and roll. He wasn't the only one doing it. Bill Haley and the Comets, Fats Domino, Chubby Checker, there was a bunch of them doing that kind of music, that genre of music that combined different genres, but Elvis was at the top of the heap. But he was the first rock star ever, and later legends, including Bob Dylan, have voiced the impact of Presley's music on their own work. John Lennon of the Beatles even went so far as to say that without the King, the Beatles would have never existed. That's quite a testament. At 130 million unit sales in the U.S., Elvis ranks number 3 on the all-time list. Next week, we're going to look at number 1, the Beatles. And then the week after, we'll look at Garth Brooks, number 2. Meanwhile, stay tuned today for some music. and another episode of Freddie Spaghetti.
I wonder what Paul's featured song is today on Sound Threads. Paul, what have you got for us?
Have you ever driven a car in the Northeast or an area with a large population of squirrels running on the roads? If so, maybe you can empathize with the song I Don't Break for Squirrels. I intended this song to be a humorous look at the road hazard these animals can cause. Hope you enjoy it. I was fussing with a switch on my new ride. The ragtop curled up and locked behind, thinking this just seemed like one fine day. I took a left, turned on to Matthew's Way. Suddenly I hit the brakes real hard. A squirrel danced in front of the car. Steered away and swerved, I tried to miss, but spun around and wound up in a ditch. I don't break for squirrels and the dangerous games they play. They run, stop, turn, stop, run the other way. It happens in a second, the choices aren't so great. Skid around and hit some tree, or accelerate. As I sat there in a daze beside the road, realized that I was not alone. Other cars were scattered across the lanes. Everything had stopped on Matthew's Way. One car was over on its side, another dripping green stuff next to mine. People looking angry, numb and frayed, checking out the damage on Matthew's Way. I don't break for squirrels and the dangerous games they play. They run, stop, turn, stop, run the other way. It happens in a second, the choices aren't so great. Skid around and hit some tree, or accelerate.
It's time now to take a look at what is going on in the musical life of Freddie Spaghetti.
A couple of weeks after Freddie bought the capo, he's getting pretty good at playing along with Crossroads Blues, and even throwing in a few licks and arpeggios of his own, courtesy of a wandering mind. As he sits there on his couch, he thinks about what to do next. I need something new. He fiddles with his phone, scrolls through song after song after song, artist after artist. Nothing is looking very appealing. He can follow most of what he hears now, and armed with the capo, Freddie's able to play along with pretty much anything. The phone buzzed. Is his mom. They cover the usual subjects. Dad's working too hard. Her bridge gang all have a flu bug. And yes, Freddie said, I'll be over later for dinner later that week. However, after the goodbyes, something his mother said stuck in his mind. Why not write your own song? It was a good question, and one that Freddie thought about. Could I? Should I? Maybe the real crossroads for Freddie was right in front of him. Yeah, that's it, Freddie thought. I'm going to write a song. Thanks for listening to Sound Threads. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week we'll have a brand new edition, and I hope you'll join us then too.